Hello again. So now that I have my basic to-do app, I can divide it into separate components and I can style it. I will divide it into two main components. One will be for the input area. So the input text box and a button will go to one component. And there will be a to-do list in another component. And I will pass the to-dos array to both of them. It will be stored in one component and then passed to those two components from top to bottom. Yeah, so let's get on it. I'm using Material UI. I like it for most of my projects, whether they're with React or just plain JavaScript. There is a nice implementation for Svelte as well. Here I'm using this text field. It's a normal input text. You can check how it looks in their documentation. It's basically Material UI input. I will install it with npm install. I'm specifying that it's dev dependency, and then name of the library / component name. You can see that it has been added in the package.json file under dev dependencies. I also would like to use their theme. In order to use this theme, I will have to install it. I'm importing it from Node modules, otherwise it will have its functionality, but not the visual look. It will just look like plain HTML input area. From the documentation of Material UI, I can simply copy how to use it. Let's just select the closest version to what I need. Now let me just copy value from my previous input area. Also a placeholder, it will be under label. Helper text is nice for validation, although I'm not going to use it here. Let's also install a button from Material UI. So I'm using this button component here. I don't really like this message about source map, but I'm not going to do anything about it now. I will Google it later to see if I can fix it in my console so it doesn't show. Oops, an error again. It doesn't like capital B, I guess. This is better. Now let me do something about this list. I will be styling this entire section area. This is how I can center it with display block and margin auto. I could use flex, I guess, on a parent wrapper or on this one, but this is good as well. I can remove this now. So I will wrap this input area in a div. And I will give it a CSS class of input area. I can also use display flex on it, align items to the center, and justify content space between. So they will go to the sides and there will be space between them. Also, I can give an inline style to this text area, and I will reduce its size with max width. So this looks a bit nicer now. I could be a bit more consistent. So instead of camel case, I will use kebab case. I prefer it for CSS. Let's give it some padding. Although to make this work, I will have to wrap those buttons in a separate area. I will give it a CSS class of actions. And bit of border below. And that's the result of it. I will download a free SVG graphic from the internet. This will be a bin icon. There is this really nice service for SVGs. it's called svg.omg. You can just drop your svg file there and it will reduce its size and complexity. Within the static folder, I will create a new folder called icons for all the icons that I'm going to use here. And I will copy this bin svg there. There are many ways to place svg on the screen. I will use the simplest I can think of by using img html tag. Oh yeah, and let's remove this background here. And to align it better, I will make this actions area into display flex. And I will center it horizontally. Again, I changed the native button to span. To be honest, now that I look at it, the button would be better because it has more native functionality. But with span, I can still make it work. I hate this indentation. I usually use 2 spaces in my project. So yeah, we have our bin icon here. And let's make sure that our CSS is updated. Pointer will be also nice. And here in source folder, I will create a new folder called components, where I will place my 2 new components. One for the task list, and the other one for the input area. So I'll move everything that is related to input area to that component. So let's move the markup first. Now my VS Code is showing me which CSS I should move. So now it doesn't know what to do is and what AddTodo means. So I will have to bring that into my component too. Oh yeah, I need those imports too. Let's create a scripts area. And those imports along with the to-do value will go there. This to-do parameter is relevant only for this component. I don't need that value anywhere else. And my AddTodo function can move there as well. So it doesn't know what to-dos are. Because my array of to-dos will be shared between 2 components, I will leave it in index.svelte. And in order to use it here, I need to write export let to-do. This is the syntax that Svelte is using. Now in my index, I can use this input area component, where I will be passing my to-dos. I obviously have to import that component. Although I'm passing to-dos to that component and this array is visible there, it doesn't allow me to add new to-do. I need to bind it now. Oh yeah, and there is this current index that belongs to input area. So this is how to bind those to-dos there. And when I save it, my editor will simplify that code. And now we have it working like before. Same with the text list. I will move all the relevant elements to that component. The markup will go first. And now it doesn't see those functions as well as to-dos. And I will pass to-dos as a prop into that component. Like previously, I will import that component. My VS Code has automatically created this import, although it's not linking to correct area. And again, all my CSS that I will have to copy is highlighted here. Toggle to do and remove to do have to be brought in from the index. While I'm here, I will remove this CSS. And let's just copy those functions from the top. Because this to-dos array is shared between those components, I will not move it from here. So again, we have all our functionality implemented with small visual improvements and some better architecture. I think I'm quite happy with this outcome. I'm not going to be adding any more elements here on that video, but in next video we'll look into the store.